Hey, I'm Aaron with Seattle Piano Company, and this is our Yamaha S6 grand piano. We're going to go through it a little bit today. Let's check it out. There are several reasons that I really enjoy working with Yamaha pianos. Coming from a technician background, I just really appreciate the design and just the execution of the build. I mean, the precision in which these things are put together is pretty amazing. I love the tone of them, of course, but one thing that I also really appreciate about Yamaha pianos, is just how understated they are. I mean, looking at this one right here and then taking a walk around the showroom, looking at all the other Yamaha grands that we have in here, they all look very similar to one another. They all look like this one. And in contrast to that, other high-end pianos, European pianos for instance, they have these just like very exotic cuts of wood on the rim on the inside, or they'll have something flashy on the plates, or maybe a really elegant or very intricate sort of cabinet design. And all that stuff is it's kind of peacocking a little bit, you know? It's saying, look at me, I'm flashy and I'm elegant and I'm this very high caliber instrument, versus with this Yamaha, it's very beautiful on the inside, but it's also very just kind of simple, you know? And to me, that's true elegance. I mean, I think that's true class right there. And speaking of true class and elegance, this Yamaha right here, this S6, what makes it so special is it is a hand-built piano. It's very different from all of the other Yamahas that we have in here right now. Making this video and talking about this piano is a little tricky for me, not because there aren't a lot of really great things to say about it. It's just that all of my videos where I'm talking about Yamaha pianos, I'm praising them for how great they sound and the build quality and the materials, all that stuff, and all of that totally holds true. It's just this is a totally different piano. I just don't want to sound redundant. This came from a different factory. This piano came from a different factory than any of the other pianos in here. This came from the CF Concert Factory. This is a handmade piano. Every cut of wood on this soundboard was hand selected and then hand joined together. Every bass string, I mean, these strings didn't come off the shelf, right? I mean, these strings were made for this piano. There was a person in the factory that was standing at the wire mill and they were hand winding all of these copper wound strings. So I mean, literally every string, every note, there was a lot put into it, not just in the thought of the design, but the actual construction of this piano. And that's really, really special, I think. And so when I play this piano, a lot of pianos are judged on their sustain, right? And if the tone wood that they chose or the design is not that great, the sustain probably isn't gonna be all that great. And so when you're playing this one, it really, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind when I first touched this piano was sustain. I think this piano really kind of exudes what sustain is. A lot of that's coming from the tone wood, but a lot of it's coming from the design as well. This piano has what's called a tone bell, which I've only ever seen in Steinways before this, but it has this special piece that was mounted to the piano that's taking the energy from the plate of the piano and feeding it back into the case of the piano. So when you're playing this, you're not just hearing it right here, the whole piano is vibrating, the whole piano is pushing energy, and so when you play it, you hear the piano all around you. You truly do, and it sounds cheesy, you know. I mean, when you're romancing a piano and really want to get the point across that it's very elegant and, you know, it feels amazing. I mean, you can kind of BS your way through any piano talking about it that way, but this one truly is a one-of-a-kind instrument. This was on the same floor as all of Yamaha's concert-made grands. So the CF series grands, I don't think you can touch one for under 120, 150 grand. I think they go up to 300,000, maybe even beyond that. And that same caliber of worker and that same caliber of design is in this piano. So anyway, it's just, I can't say enough about it. I mean, this is one of the nicest Yamahas, or one of the nicest pianos in general that I've ever had in this store. All right, so having said all of those things, we should probably play the piano so you can hear how amazing it sounds. My vocal mic is not going to do this thing the justice that it deserves. My buddy Lennon is going to play the piano for us, and he's a much better pianist than I am. So if you skip ahead a little bit, if you just want to hear it, go for it. It's towards the end of the video here. But this would not be a Seattle Piano Company video if we didn't take a look at the action. So I'm going to take this apart a little bit, slide the action out, and we'll have a look. Now that I have the piano taken apart and the action on the bench, I'm realizing that there's a very important thing that I haven't gone over at all, and that's the overall condition of this piano. So yes, it's an amazing model. There's a lot that went into it, but this piano was made in 1998, which is not super old in piano years by any means, but we should talk about the current condition of this piano. So I think it being taken apart is actually like a great opportunity to do this. So we'll take a closer look on the inside, and I'll kind of tell you, what I'm seeing in there and why I think it's a great piece. So I got this piano from a company located in Hamamatsu, Japan, which is where Yamaha is also located. And this company specializes in restoring Yamaha pianos. And some of their pianos are very laborious restorations because they need a lot of work, and then others are more of a refurbish where they're kind of taking what's there and making it as nice as possible. So this piano is absolutely in grade A condition, and I'll kind of tell you why I think that. And the other thing, I don't always get a lot of history or any history really on these pianos. The company I work with knows that I have a hard no when it comes to pianos that were in institutional type environments, so teaching studios or in a college or things like that, things where the pianos are played really heavily. When I look at this piano, and this isn't a sixth sense really, I'm looking at these things and working on them all day long. I've been doing this for 20 years now. So when I look at the finish has been polished. There's not a scratch on this thing. I mean, the polyester finish just buffed out beautifully, same with all the brass on here. But when I'm looking at this piano, I don't see any chip repairs, and chip repairs are really common. I mean, these pianos, there is a certain amount of wear and tear that they get just from even light use or just very careful use. Things happen, so you'll get a scratch or you'll get a chip in the finish. I've been over this thing. I've been over every inch of this piano, and I cannot find any repairs. They are very, very good at their repairs, but no repair is actually, invisible. I mean, I can usually see where they are. All that being said, this piano was not in a high-use environment, and I can tell that it was extremely well cared for. People weren't bumping into this thing. I mean, this piano was very well kept. This was a hefty investment also. Whoever bought this piano spent a lot of money on it, and usually when you have something of that caliber and that cost, you take care of it, right? So in any case, I think it was very well cared for. The company that I got the piano from, again, buffed out the finish, clean and detail the inside. I'm guessing the clean and detail probably wasn't all that, I don't know, heavy or laborious. I'm guessing that this thing was pretty clean from the get-go. But other things that I need to make sure of is when I'm looking at the soundboard, if there are any cracks in the soundboard or the bridge for that matter, if the soundboard is like a darker brown than it should be. Maybe it was in a very humid environment at some point. And when I look at this thing, there's no oxidation on the strings. The soundboard is beautiful. I don't even think that there's like any sign of like a pressure ridge, which is like very common in these pianos. It's beautiful. I can tell that this was in a really clean environment, a very climate controlled environment. And again, I'm seeing that in the soundboard, I'm seeing that in the strings. I've tuned this piano. I can tell it in the way that the tuning pins feel. This thing is in very, very amazing condition. So the guys in Japan did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. They did the bulk of the work. But then when it came here, I went straight for the action. I got that thing on the action rack and did a full regulation and a hammer voicing and really got this thing to where I think it needs to be. All right, so back to the action of the piano. Like the rest of the piano, the action is in really beautiful condition. Something very cool about the action coming from the CF factory. Pianos are, like I said, factory. They're made like in an assembly line, right? But when I'm building an action, if I'm restoring a Steinway and I'm putting all new parts in there, I'm going through key by key to make sure that the weight is perfect. Now, coming from the factory, generally you're working within within a range of weight, right? It's like this is acceptable if it's between this many grams and this many grams, and that range can sometimes be kind of wide, right? But on this one, when they built this action, I'm guessing it was probably one guy, and he went through and made sure that each and every one of these keys was weighing off perfectly. There's these weights that are inside of the wood here, and then that accounts for the amount of pressure that you have to press down on the key to get it to function, to get the hammer to go up. There's a few other things involved, but that is really crucial. So when you're playing this piano, you're playing something that's really been kind of like custom tailored, I mean, it's this is not off the shelf by any means. I mean, this was a hand-assembled, like really dialed-in keyboard. So anyway, it feels great. The condition of the wood is beautiful. These look like brand new key sticks. Same with the hammer shanks and the hammers and the flanges. Again, if it was in a humid environment at some point, you see the wood start to darken. You see little spots where maybe there was some mold. This is almost indistinguishable from what a new key set and hammer set looks like. So another thing to take into account is how much the piano has been played. And I was saying before that I suspected the piano was played either very lightly or not much at all. And I'm coming to that conclusion from looking at the hammers. If you've ever looked inside of a piano before and you've seen the hammers, you've probably seen grooves inside of the hammers. And that's from the hammer hitting the string and then the string kind of packing in that felt. Now, what happens is you keep playing the piano that way, and the piano starts to become very bright, percussive, metallic sounding. And the way to fix that is you take felt off of the hammer, you shape the hammer, and you're getting that packed in felt off. You're getting a fresh strike point, and you're getting the hammer back into literal shape, right? If you do that several times, and doing it, the hammers are manufactured with that in mind. You're supposed to shape hammers. They're made to be shaped. But if you do that a lot, you're not going to have a lot of felt left on the hammer. And where it becomes very obvious is in the treble section here. Now these have less felt on them right out of the box. They go from being very fat to tapering off to being a lot thinner here in the treble area. And so if these had been shaped several times, there would not be a lot of felt left here. I'm looking at the tip of the felt of the hammer here to the wooden core, the tip of the wooden core in the hammer, and I'm seeing a lot of life left in these. I'm not seeing that there was a lot taken off at any point. The other thing about these hammers is that the shape is a little bit different than what I'm used to seeing, not in a bad way. This is what I see in a lot of restored Steinways, the shoulder of the hammer being a little bit more aggressive to the strike point. I think when they were building this in the CF factory, these hammers, like everything else, they weren't just off the shelf, right? So when they pressed these hammers and then they hung them on these shanks and they were building this action, they also custom shaped these into a shape that they thought was going to be the best for tone. So it just visually, there's something different about this, and in a good way. It looks like it's been totally dialed in. Whoever gets this piano is going to be very, very lucky. It sounds great. It plays great. It's an heirloom. I mean, this piano has decades and decades of life left in it if it's treated correctly. And let's say 100 years from now, 50 years from now, I don't know, whatever reasonable amount of time before a piano would need to be restored, this is worth restoring in every sense of the word. Like if this came into the shop 50 years from now, I'm probably not going to be here. But if it did, this is a piano of a caliber that needs to be brought back. It's not disposable. So this is, again, an heirloom piece, and I feel lucky to have it here. You want to hear it, I'm guessing. So yeah, you're finally going to hear it. Just here in a couple seconds, Lyndon is going to start to play. If you have any questions about this piano at all, it is currently for sale. Feel free to give me a shout. All of my info will be in the details of this video. Call, text, email, whatever works best for you. Enjoy the performance, and thanks a lot for watching.